Good to go, sir.
Are we live?
Yes.
Great. Hey, everybody. Hello, Arizona and the rest of the internet. Adrian Fontes here, Arizona Secretary of State. Fridays with Fontes, happy to be here. And just got a couple of things for you, some questions, a book recommendation, and a really interesting biography somebody came across very recently that I want to share some details with you. So we'll go ahead and get started. No guest today. Sorry about that. What I first want to do is talk about this book, World of Our Mothers, Mexican Revolution era migrants and their stories. The stories of about 45 women who emigrated to the United States and Arizona during the Mexican Revolution in 1910. People were fleeing across the border and trying to get away from the violence. Touches on what they endured, their experiences in forced labor, mining towns, living in the barrios, and trying to keep their families together and stuff. Miguel Montiel and Ivan de la Torre Montiel put this together. It is a publication of the University of Arizona Press. Again, a great resource for a lot of folks and a lot of this sort of stuff. I think it's pretty interesting that we learn some of the history of what a particular group of people did to help build Arizona. One of the other things that I want to make sure is, why do we have this up here again?
You're doing your 5 C's?
Oh, my 5 C's. That's right. It's
I like
citrus,
citrus,
not
yeah.
cactus.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So the 5 C's. Sorry, that was the trivia question. My crack staff keeping me in line. Citrus County was one of the fake counties that we used during our tabletop exercises last December when we were training elections officials and then eventually members of law enforcement and then eventually the media. We did a bunch of tabletop exercises, and Citrus County was one of the counties that we used. We had Cattle County and Copper County and all that stuff. But remember we asked, was it citrus or cactus was one of the 5 C's. It is citrus, so that's why we have the Citrus County up here. Thank you very much for that, Amanda. I appreciate that. Because I forgot why we had it up here, but that's why. Real quick announcement. We want to make sure that we are, of course, always following the law. And there's a little piece in the law in there that obliges the Secretary of State when there are initiatives on a general election ballot to host town halls. Now, there have been town halls. There will be town halls in I think the one in Flagstaff has passed. Is that correct?
That was last week.
There will be one here in the greater Phoenix area. But the one that I will personally be attending will be down in Tucson at Pima Community College in the Amethyst Room on Stone Avenue from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Their town hall is going to be discussing Prop 139, the Abortion Access Act, and Prop 140, the Make Elections Fair Act. No controversy there. We're going to be inviting one member from each of the committees, one member from each of the official opposing side to speak regarding their perspectives on these propositions. We're then going to open it up to the public to ask questions. We, of course, are merely hosting here at the Secretary's office. This is our obligation under state law, and we want to make sure that the dialogue moves forward. So we've already had one. We're going to have the one in Tucson. Again, that's going to be on September the 28th. I think that's a Saturday, right?
Yes.
Is that this Saturday?
It's this Saturday.
It's tomorrow. Hey, maybe we'll see it down in Tucson tomorrow. The next one is going to be October 5th at South Mountain Community College. You can check our social media and some of our other spaces where you find information for more of that stuff. So we're going to get to questions real quick here. We're going to have a bit of a short form show today. But one of our folks found a Phoenix native who was born in Phoenix just before the Great Depression. She was called Amazing Grace. Graciela Olivares was the first Latina law professor in the United States of America. She ended up taking her 8-year-old son with her to Notre Dame Law School, where she graduated in 1970. She was, again, born in Phoenix, but she spent her life in formative years in Barcelona, Arizona, which doesn't exist anymore because of the mines out in because of the Ray mine, which was an open pit mine, swallowed up communities. Not the first community in Arizona to have that happen to it. There were several, but she ended up going to high school there, leaving for business school, worked in the government. She worked for several appointed roles in New Mexico, and then ended up in the Carter administration as the director of the Community Service Administration. So, Graciela Olivares, the first Latina law professor in the United States of America, born right here in Arizona. So that's a big deal. Now to questions. And we've got an interesting question. We spent a lot of time on this, and I have a feeling we're going to be spending some more time on this sometime soon. But here's the question. How will a poll worker know that a person can vote only state and local races and issues? The follow-up to that is, do these 98,000 people know that they are included in this group of voters? Can a person mend the lack of documentation? So let me just kind of walk through this really quickly so we know what the state of the law is in Arizona, what the state of the law is for 2024, which is a little bit different than normal course of business, and what ended up happening. So here's what happened. We came to find that there was miscommunication between the Motor Vehicle Division and the voter registration system here at the Secretary of State's office. That miscommunication let us know that folks had provided documented proof of citizenship when they had not. Now in Arizona, everybody can vote in federal elections by signing off the way every other citizen in the United States of America does in every other state. You sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury saying you're a U.S. citizen. But in Arizona, that only qualifies you for the federal ballot, President, Senate, and Congress. In Arizona, we have a higher standard for everything else. From governor to secretary of state, all the way down to city council, etc. You've got to provide documented proof of citizenship. We call that DPOC. If you have provided that documented proof of citizenship, we call that a full ballot. So we have Fed-only ballots that are just the ones where everybody else in the country, they all can vote on everything. We here in Arizona have that higher standard. So Fed-only ballots, full ballots. We found that miscommunication between the Motor Vehicle Division and our voter registration system that revealed something in the neighborhood of 98,000 voters. We went and had a friendly lawsuit with the Maricopa County Recorder. The President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House chimed in. Various other folks chimed in, including the State Republican Party on our side, saying these folks ought to be full ballot voters, even though we don't have proof today. They may have, we just don't know for sure, that these folks ever provided that documented proof of citizenship. So we have some federal law that intervened. We have some basic equal protection issues and due process issues that intervened. And so the state Supreme Court said, for the 2024 general election, anybody who might have been on this list is a full ballot voter. And that's because as a function of law, that was the best outcome. So it doesn't matter if you're on this list. If you were a full ballot voter, you're going to stay a full ballot voter. If you are among those 44,000 that we already had, and that is a dynamic number, later then that's going to be Fed only for the time being. Now, why, the last question, why can non-Arizonans vote at all? These are all Arizonans, and these are all folks who meet the exact same standard that every other person in the United States of America meets for their own state. They sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury, and we take Americans at their word for just about everything except state and local elections in Arizona. It's a different qualifier. Now, whether I agree with that personally or not is irrelevant. That's the law. That's where we're at. So we're working hard to make sure to run all of our traps and check all of the rest of the systems and the rest of the ways folks have been doing this. So we will keep you posted if there are any other developments on this. But for now, the folks who were on this list don't have to worry. They're going to get the same ballots they had previously received, according to the Arizona Supreme Court. Second question, how do I vote early, or when does it start? I love this question. Okay, first and foremost, you can order your early ballot all the way through till October 25th. But that's not when I want you to vote early, folks. Let me tell you, I'm going to be voting early on October the 9th. Why? Well, that's the first day of early voting, and I'm going to go vote in person. I'm going to present my ID, my proof of address. I'm going to get the ballot style that pertains to me here in Maricopa County, and I'm going to vote early. Why? Because I don't want to have to worry about it, and I don't care about October surprises. All of that's just politics. I know what I feel personally as a citizen about the issues, about the candidates, and I'm going to cast my ballot early. Plus, I don't have to wait till the last second because I'm going to have a whole bunch of work to do here in the office, so I just need to get it out of the way. And I encourage you to do the same. Now, you can wait for your ballot to arrive in the mail. They will be mailed out on October 9th. You should get it within a day or two or three of that. and then get it back right away. That's the important thing, right? So you can vote early by doing one of the following. You can either show up in person, and you can make sure you've got your ID. Arizona.vote is the place to find out what specific ID is required. Alternatively, you can contact through Arizona.vote your county recorder, and they will send you an early ballot. Well over 80% of Arizona voters vote by mail. They vote early, so you won't be an outlier. You won't be kind of on your own on this. This is a really solid system. It's a very secure system. Lots of Arizonans, in fact, the vast majority of Arizonans use the vote by mail system. It works well. It's very convenient. Get your ballots in as early as possible is the only thing I'll say about that. And the last question for today, look at how quick we're going today. What other services does the Secretary of State's office provide? Good Lord, we provide a lot of them. So I do a book recommendation on every show because the state library is part of the Secretary of State's office. We also have the State Archives and Public Records. And those pieces of the puzzle, we call it LAPR, Library Archives and Public Records, are housed in the Polly Rosenbaum building, and they have a phenomenal track record for preserving and protecting Arizona's history and heritage and access to information and knowledge. That is really, really cool. And there's a talking book library resource that also is in there. So if you are, or you know somebody who is visually impaired or has some other kind of difficulty and needs stuff delivered back and forth to them, other disabilities might count. There's a great resource called the Talking Book Library that you can take advantage of. Lots of people use it. We love having that resource available. So that's over Library Archives and Public Records. We also have a business services division here in the Secretary of State's office that I'm particularly excited about because we're doing just bang up work, making sure that we serve Arizona better. In the not too distant future, you're going to hear about some of the advances we've made, some of the service increases we've made. So we've really increased our customer service capacity and efficiency. We've made some significant adjustments, not just in staff, but in the way we do things that are really serving a lot more Arizonans a lot more efficiently. And that helps small businesses and that helps Arizona's economy overall. So I'm really excited about that. Plus, we're working very, very hard to make sure that everything we've got is on Business One Stop. Business One Stop is a website that was created a few years ago where an entrepreneur could come and get all the stuff they need. And the dream was to make sure that all of the business, registration of trademark and trade names, notary stuff, all of those things that are at the Secretary of State's office would be on that website. And then we would add in Department of Revenue, Department of Administration, Corporation Commission, and then all of the business stuff would be in one stop for Arizonans on the internet. We've been really working hard to make this dream a reality from the Secretary of State's office. I'm going to continue to push for that because what's good for business is good for Arizona, and that's super exciting. The last and most, I think, public part of the Secretary of State's office is our election department, and the election department really encompasses a whole bunch of regulatory stuff for the counties because Arizona is a bottom-up state where each of our 15 counties really kind of run the elections, and we regulate by promulgating the Elections Procedures Manual in conjunction with the Governor's Office and the Attorney General's Office. We make sure to do the logic and accuracy testing on all of the equipment that's out there tabulating our ballots. We also certify elections officials who have particular jobs in state law, and so we do the training and certification for those folks right here out of the Secretary of State's office, among a whole bunch of other stuff, including campaign finance, lobbyist regulation, and other stuff. We're continuing to try to improve those systems as much as we possibly can. Given the resources we've got, I think we've done a heck of a job over the last year and a half plus. So that's what some of the other things that the Secretary of State's office does, those three big buckets: Library Archives and Public Records, Business Services, and of course the Election Department. My name is Adrian Fontes. I'm Arizona's Secretary of State. We hope you have a phenomenal weekend coming up. Make sure that you stay hydrated and watch your kids around water. Have a good weekend.